So excited to be joined today by a former WWE champion, one of the most decorated tag team wrestlers in pro wrestling history, and one of the most creative Royal Rumble competitors of all time, the one and only Kofi Kingston. Kofi,
Hey,
welcome to Under the Ring Pro Wrestling Conversations. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, but you can't forget your current WWE NXT World Tag Team Champion. I can't scream because I'm in like a local residency or something going on. There's a lot of people around here, but yes, my excitement is top tier.
Outstanding. So I'd actually like to start with the Royal Rumble since that's coming up.
Yeah.
This is your 15th, and you've had a lot of memorable moments. I was kind of going through them last night to prep a little bit. You had a handstand over the steps in 2012. You jumped onto Tensai, Matt Bloom in 2013, and onto a chair. You had the guardrail with Rusev. You were body surfed by the Rosebuds in 2015. Actually, somebody I know was one of the Rosebuds,
Oh,
Hale
nice.
Collins, and I'd forgotten that he was there. And I watched the clip last night. I was like, I texted, well, were you in that? So you have all the, you landed on the shoulders. You had the ring post. You had the pancakes with Woods, the sunset flip position with Woods. What was your favorite, and how on earth do you come up with this stuff?
I don't know, man. These ideas they just come, man. And I always give credit to John Morrison because he was the one who kind of started this whole phenomenon, or brought it back. I guess Shawn Michaels, right, way back in the day, when he dipped his one foot on the ground and got back in. But John Morrison was the guy who got knocked off the apron and he Spider-Man onto the barricade and ran his way back around and jumps back into the ring. And then the next year, when the Rumble came around, he wasn't with the company anymore. So I was like, oh, I'll do something like that. And the handstand one was the first one, and then by the reaction of the people, I knew I had to kind of like make it a thing. And here we are, man. Like 15 years later, we're still doing it, and we're still coming up with different and unique moments for people to watch. So I'm just very blessed and fortunate to be able to have been doing it for so long and to be considered to be one of like the highlights of the Royal Rumble over the years. So it's pretty crazy when I sit back and think about that, but I'm definitely grateful for the opportunity.
And it's kind of like you have to sort of keep topping yourself.
Yeah.
You're competing with yourself with all this. Was Royal Rumble something you were into as a young fan? Did you really like the, only one of Shawn Michaels' feet has hit the floor? Were you into that one when that happened?
So I mean, the Royal Rumble has a different energy, man. Like everybody, even if like this is a situation where people count down, you know, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like 40 times, 30 to 40 times, depending on who's in the Rumble. People really, really love like not knowing who's going to come out next or, who's going to survive. You have like really no idea. So, yeah, I enjoyed the Rumble just as much as the next man did growing up. But like I said, as far as like the elimination spots are concerned, like those weren't really like a thing, right? Nobody really had the opportunity or took the opportunity to make that their thing. So again, like kudos to John Morrison for like thinking about like taking advantage of this like loophole in the rule book, right? But yeah, it's just a way that we can keep eyes and keep people interested in what it is that we do. Anytime you can find a way to bring a sense of uniqueness to your match or a pay-per-view or WWE in general, like that is what we do, and that's why we're able to keep such a dedicated fan base.
I thought it was pretty cool. I was watching the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom show last week, and I heard in the pre-show Rumble or Rambo, I believe is what they call it, that you actually got a little bit of a shout out there when somebody
Yeah,
did the jump onto the railing. Kevin Kelly gave you. That's got to be pretty cool. This, yeah, when it's
yeah.
crossing over into other companies.
Yeah, it is, man. And in these different like universes that we have that are supposed to be separate, when you have that crossover, it's a beautiful thing. Um, but I actually still haven't heard the commentary, but I did get a lot of messages on my social media on Twitter and on Instagram talking about the shout out that happened. So yeah, it's definitely really, really cool. And I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to acknowledge everybody who has been involved in those Royal Rumble elimination saving scenarios because it's not just me. A lot of stuff has to go right. If Miz throws my feet too far forward or doesn't throw them far enough, the initial one doesn't happen, then I don't know if I even do it the next year, right? Like if Tenzai doesn't catch me on his back, Rusev doesn't catch me and place me the right way on the barricade, if the Rosebuds drop me, you know what I'm saying? Like so much stuff has to go right. And it's not just me that deserves the credit for that. So I always got to give credit to the people who are involved in making the magic happen.
Excellent. So let's chat a little bit about NXT. You and Xavier Woods are having a really cool run on that show and matches
Yeah.
and segments with some really promising new duos like Pretty Deadly and Briggs and
Hey.
Jensen. What are you enjoying about that? And what do you think of the system at NXT and the Performance Center right now?
I'm enjoying every aspect of it. I always knew that at some point in time you kind of get thrust into the role of like, you're the veteran and you're telling like the young people like what, they should do or what you would recommend that they do to have better matches and whatnot. And there's always been an element of that like in the locker room, but this is very, very different for NXT. These are guys and girls who are trying to figure themselves out. This is a very unique time period in people's careers. And it's a really exciting time because you know that all these guys are like the future of the business, right? So you can see like little bits and pieces of people like finding themselves and like their characters and learning how to talk and trying to figure out how to put together good matches within the time frames that they're given. It's a very exciting time, a time of like learning. So for me to be involved in people's careers when they're like at this stage, it's super exciting for me because I haven't felt that energy and really ever in my career. I've never really been like in that role so heavy, to be able to go there every week and just watch and observe and give little nuggets of advice, especially with like Pretty Deadly. I feel like they're so incredibly special. The way that they're able to connect with the crowd, and even if it's in a way that the crowd is repulsed by them,
Right.
it's not an easy thing to do. It's very it's difficult to go out there and to get people to be emotionally invested in what you're doing, and they got it, man. They got it. So hopefully, when the time is right, they come up to the main roster, and I think that the WWE universe is going to be pleasantly surprised. For those of the people who are not like familiar with their work are going to be very, very impressed for sure. They're super talented.
Did I see that you recently worked with them on some of the live events
Yeah.
for the main roster as well?
Yes, I worked with them last week in singles matches on the live events. So they're like accustomed to doing like tag team stuff, but even in singles competition, they were on point. One of the telltale signs that you are going to be successful or that you have something special in this industry is when you can walk out of the curtain and people are reacting to you without you even saying a word. These people didn't know who Pretty Deadly were, but they walk out looking like they do with these like mesh crop tops. You know what I mean? Like these high crop tops and flamboyant looks, and their hair all done. Instant boos, like heat magnets. Nobody wanted to hear what they had to say. Nobody wanted to see them, and they come out and they embrace it. And again, that's very difficult to do. I think half the battle is trying to get people to care, whether they want you to be beat up or they want you to beat people up, right? So when you can get people to care, you haven't even said a single word to the WWE universe like that. That is, you got something special. So it was a real joy getting to work with them on the singles level, and I can't wait to work with them on the tag team level in front of like the Raw and SmackDown rosters when the time is right.
That's great. What do you see as kind of the similarities and the differences of the WWE system from when you started in 2006, I believe it was?
Yeah, it's a lot. The landscape is completely different. I think the mentality in the locker room is completely different. I think there's a lot more of wanting to help. You know what I mean? Like we really look out for one another. Um, I think you look at like the pay-per-views, right? The whole entire concept of the women's revolution that took place, right? Where initially, like women were not getting a lot of TV time. They weren't getting equal just exposure as the men were getting, right? And then between like Natty Neidhart and Nikki Bella and Brie Bella and a lot of the women, that were involved in that time, they took a stand. And before you knew it, you had your own, the women had their own pay-per-view. And now the women have their own battle royal, or Royal Rumble, you know? So this to me is a huge step with WWE, and to be here when that has gone down. I mean, even like our travels all over the world. There's been tryouts in India. Right now, we're about to have our first tryout in Africa, which is
Right.
going to be great. In Nigeria, like a lot of people were like, "Well, when are they going to come? When are they going to come?" And now we're on the cusp of doing it. So it's a very unique time. We've accomplished so very much in this past 15 years that I've been on the main roster, and I'm like super proud to have been on the roster while all of these changes were going down, because I can remember when things were very very different. So we got a lot more to do, a lot more goals to accomplish. But I'm really proud to be a part of the roster at this point in time, being able to do all these crazy, incredible, and unique things in the industry.
And looking back on your journey through developmental, I think you hit Deep South, OVW, and FCW on your way
Yeah,
to the WWE version of ECW, which I remember seeing you debut on there too. So
yeah,
it's just, there's been so many iterations of it, but there's so many people like you, not so many people, but like you, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz. There's some guys that have really had some significant, like unprecedented amount of years in this system, and it's amazing to continue to stay fresh for
yeah.
that level of time too, I would think.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's very. We were actually just talking about this the other day, um, but I think so I've been on the main roster for it'll be 15 years in January, which blows my mind. Like 15 years is such a long time. But you think about like a lot of the biggest superstars in our industry, and the majority of them haven't been around for like even half that amount of time. I think The Rock's like main roster tenure was like what, 6 years or something like this. Austin, same thing, similar. Um, I would, like compare it to maybe like a Kane who was, through the Attitude Era all the way up until recently, was on the roster. But it's very rare that you get people that have been on the roster consistently for so long. So again, myself, Miz, Dolph, even like Sheamus now, we take a lot of pride in that. We take a lot of pride in being able to have been around for so long, but in a state of relevancy,
Yeah.
and doing significant things on the roster. Um, it's been great, but it's weird to like look back at that stuff because I feel like I still have a lot more to
Yeah.
give. You know what I mean? Which is a good position to be in for sure. Um, but yeah, man, this is all I've ever wanted to do since I was a kid, and I'm just happy and I feel very fortunate and blessed and grateful that I'm still able to do it at such a high level.
We're just thinking too, Randy Orton, I think, is at about 23 years on the
Orton
roster
too.
too. So
Of course. How could I? Yeah, come on, man. Like
I
it's
watched him
wild.
in I think I watched him in a dark match in 2002 at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
So
Yeah, man.
against
It's a
Brock
good
Lesnar.
example of against Brock. Oh boy. Nice, nice.
Brock Lesnar the one night, and Ron H2O Waterman was the other night. But
Whoa.
yeah. So the other thing that I was hearing about is tell me about the new charity you're starting with your mother about building computer labs and libraries in Ghana. The Click for Quality Education Foundation. Click, correct me if I'm wrong, standing for Computer Lab and Integrated Center for Knowledge for Quality Education. So
Yes.
tell me
Yeah.
about this project.
Yeah, man, it's something that my mom and I are super excited about. We have talks all the time about kind of the state of life in Ghana and outside of the United States. And one of the things that was a constant standout was the fact that like children didn't necessarily have the same opportunities as children in the United States or anywhere else in the world. And particularly with like computers and libraries, my mom was telling me that there are some kids who get to high school without ever having been to a library or without ever having been on a computer, but at the same time, like they're expected to pass the same standardized test that everybody else is. You're expected to do well. And if you don't do well, then, like it's hard to advance. So people are really kind of started, like without a leg up, you know what I mean, at a disadvantage. And it's our goal to kind of like bring them up and give them the same opportunities that everybody else has. So we want to provide just, yeah, computer labs and provide like a sense of computer literacy, because obviously in this day and age, it's so incredibly important to be kind of in touch with technology. I mean, we take it for granted where I can like take my cell phone and I can look up any piece of information in the world, and be mad that the internet is not as fast as it should be when there are people in the world and people in Ghana who don't even know what a computer is. My mom was telling me that like the sometimes when the teachers are teaching the kids about computers, they're taking like rocks and different like tools in the classroom and putting them together and say, hey, this is a mouse, this is a screen, and you usually type into the keyboard, then it goes to the screen. And I can only imagine what it's like for a child to like be trying to conceptualize this. You can't possibly get a grasp on what it actually is. So it is our goal to give them those opportunities to learn and just be on the same level when it comes to media literacy and computer literacy with on the same level as everybody else in the world. So we have a GoFundMe going to help fund it because as much as I am a very much I'll do it myself person, but
Right.
the longer that I am involved in this process, the more I realize that I can't do it myself. We can't do it ourselves, and we do need the help and generosity of people to give so that we can get our computers and we can get a few more things that we need to get the first one, hopefully the first of many, so we can get that up and running. But yeah, we have the GoFundMe, which is at gofundme.com/clickfqe. Or if you want to, follow on all the latest, goings on of the Click for Quality Education Foundation, you can just go to Click FQE on Twitter, on Instagram, and we'll be updating people. And anything you can give will help. And even if you can't donate, that's fine too. If you can spread the word, that is equally helpful. So we're looking forward to being able to provide something really special for all these kids out there.
That's great. We can include the link with the release of this too. It's really
Yeah.
great stuff. What's it like doing something like this with your mom?
It's amazing. It's so awesome because my mom has always been somebody that has been a leader by example. And in the Ghanaian community, she has been somebody that people have looked up to for a long time. And she's always just had the mentality of wanting to help people. My mom and my dad, to be honest. And I've always that always resonated with me. The more success that we experience as celebrities, I feel like we have a responsibility to kind of give back to the community in any way that we can. And when you're in a position to be able to help, to be able to spread the word, to be able to galvanize people, to give, you do that. You do that, because I'm a big Spider-Man guy, right? So Peter Parker and then Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility, and we feel like we have a responsibility to help people in the best way that we can. So that's what we're trying to do, and to be able to do it alongside my mom is it just feels right, because this is exactly what she taught me to do, and now she's kind of holding my hand, and we're doing it together, and it's very exciting.
That's tremendous. So it feels almost awkward to bring up New Day now, but legitimately one of the greatest three-man units in the history of wrestling, one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Oh, thank you.
You and Biggie and Creed all seem like solid citizens, making your communities better, being a big part of it. It's
Oh yeah.
just, why has this lasted so long? Why does it work? It's even lasted through multiple WWE championship reigns, both yourself and Big E.
Yeah. I think it's the fact that we have something that's very unique and very special when it comes to our relationship. We, have so much love for each other, and it oozes through like the camera lens. A lot of times when we're out there making people laugh in the crowd, we're really, it's great that they're participating with us, but we're really kind of doing it to rib each other and laugh with each other and have a good time with each other. If the people weren't there, we would still be doing it. So what we do comes across as very authentic, and it's just something that's very special. You think about all the tag teams that have been around in the history of WWE, and there's always like either one person that's like trying to use the other to get a leg up and get the WWE title or get the singles title or whatever it is. There's always like selfish motivation behind. There's always like selfish motivation behind like their relationship or the success. So with us, it's not that, and as much as what we do is like storyline driven, this is actually like real. This is our real relationship, and it comes across that way on television. So I think that's why we've been able to stay together, because people realize like how special the relationship is between the three of us. It's not something that you can like, that you can fake, that you can you know, like people would see through it if it wasn't as real as it was. So hopefully, you know what I'm saying? Like that's our goal, is to be the one faction that never breaks up, that never fights, that never collides in the ring, and has like different like questionable motives or anything like that. We are just three dudes who love each other, and we respect each other, and three brothers.
And I'll say too, I was in attendance at the show with the Kofi Mania show, which was just a
Oh
great thing
yeah.
to be at MetLife Stadium. So that was tremendous too.
Oh,
Uh,
right on, man.
but we're going to move to something we call the three count now. It's going to be three quick questions and your responses.
Right.
So, was there a moment with New Day where you looked at yourselves and thought, "Wow, this is ridiculous. We are really getting paid to do this"? And what was it?
There's so many moments. I mean, it was probably at some point in time when I'm out there, like twerking, E's out there swiveling his hips, Wood is swiveling his hips, and the entire crowd is doing it along with us, and they're going to buy our shirts, and we'll leave the arenas, and people will be waiting to like see WWE superstars on the way out, and then you'll have like the entire crowd just like swiveling their hips, and we're like, man, this is our contribution. This is our contribution to society. Like the people are out there from all ages, little kids all the way up to old ladies out there swiveling their hips, and trying to say what's up. So when you sit back and think about all the crazy things that we have done, it's really quite remarkable. And yes, we say it often, we can't believe that we get paid actual money to do this. It's crazy.
And you're having fun doing it. What's your favorite New Day accessory and why?
Oh boy. I mean, it's got to be the unicorn horn. Yeah. I mean, the fact that so we came up with this idea. We just had like these like uh glass or like plastic horns that we put on like headbands that were made, and they were hurting our heads to wear. They were really, really heavy. But then when we came backstage after doing that segment, the merch guys were right there, like, we're gonna make those. We can sell them. Like, what? So of course, like they make them, and they actually like lit up, right, in like different colors. I'm like, 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 why is this a thing? Like, whose concept was this? Who invented this? Like, so that, yeah, I think the unicorn horn, from the inception all the way to the merchandising of it, is completely and utterly ridiculous.
I always enjoyed the pancake toss when you were doing that. And I always it kind of harkened me back to the old leaping Lanny Poffo throwing the frisbees, but the pancakes don't quite make it as far, maybe, as some of
Yeah,
the frisbees do.
yeah, and then people would eat those pancakes, which was
Ugh.
crazy too, because a lot of times, like, they'd be sitting out all day, they'd be stale and stiff, and then E would come out and he'd put them in his singlet, and or you might not know, but he doesn't wear any boxers under there, and he comes out and he throws them out, and people are just like fighting each other to grab them. They're eating them. I'm like, guys, no, like I'm very honest with you, like these are props. These are props. This is not a meal. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, hey, to each their own, man. It's all good.
And then finally, if you could show someone three Kofi Kingston matches as an introduction to you as a wrestler, which matches would you
Whoa.
choose and why?
Okay, I would show them my, like, before I got signed, any match that I had at Chaotic Wrestling,
Hmm.
because I didn't know what I was, playing the Jamaican character, Kofi Kingston from Kingston, Jamaica, didn't know what I was doing in the ring, doing all these like awkward mannerisms. And then I would also show them my match against Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental Championship title, because there was kind of a progression, right? You know what I mean? From where I was to where I got to, and then obviously like the match at WrestleMania against Daniel Bryan, because again, just to show the level of progression of where I started from and where I got to, and then you're like, oh my god, like this guy should have never made it. You know what I'm saying? This guy should have never made it. This character and all these weird things he's doing in the ring, who would have thought that he could go through and win the WWE Championship? It shouldn't have happened in a lot of ways. So, but yet and still, here we are, and we're still doing it. So it's all gravy.
That's terrific. Well, congratulations on all you've been able to accomplish. We actually had Mike Bucci on not too long ago,
Hey,
last month,
nice.
and he had a lot of nice things to say about you from when you were breaking into the business, also.
Oh,
So
he's the man. He's the man. I owe him the world because without, I mean, he was the one who decided to sign me, you know,
right.
and he was at the tryout that I had way back in 2006. And, you know, he saw something that he liked. And luckily I was there, right place, right time. And, you know, here we are. Without him, I definitely wouldn't be here. So shout out to Nova, man. He's the man.
Very nice. Well, Kofi, thank you so much for joining me today on Under the Ring Pro Wrestling Conversations. I have really enjoyed this. All the best with all you have going on, and you've got a lot going on. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for joining me today. Couldn't be.
thank you. Thank you for having me on, man. It was a pleasure to talk to you.